Hi, I'm Tina Litster at Circe Creek Boutique. Our mission is to empower you to courageously create. We created these kits for you to eliminate the guesswork and to give you the tools, the knowledge, and the courage to create your own work of art. Hi, today we're going to make this Williamsburg style wreath. I call it my Wassail wreath. Wassail is an old English drink. It's a spiced cider and it has orange juice and spices, cinnamon and cloves and allspice, and it's hot and wonderful, and it's just this wreath, because of its cinnamon sticks and its orange slices and the color and warmth of it, it just reminds me of Wassail. So we're going to make this wreath. It's built on the foundation of a grapevine wreath, and it has a length of artificial pine garland. It has 3 different kinds of coniferous branches, some 5 pine cones, it has magnolia leaves and other deciduous leaves, and it has different kinds of berry stems and cinnamon sticks, walnuts, and dried orange slices. So let's get building. You'll notice that this wreath is very warped. It's more like an egg shape. That doesn't matter at all in this wreath. It's very easy to compensate for a misshapen wreath, because we first put the pine garland around it, and you just simply make sure that the pine garland has a nice round shape. Everything else will follow that shape and totally cover the fact that this is a misshapen wreath. The first thing that we do is to unwind the pine garland, and then you need to fluff it out so that all of the branches are going in the same direction. If you notice how a pine tree grows, it grows with all of the branches kind of pointing toward the sun. And so you point all of these in the same direction. Now this is a really inexpensive piece of garland, but it doesn't matter because it's just a foundation for putting all of the other beautiful elements on. And so now we have all of these pointed in the same direction. We do not glue this pine garland in place. We actually just wind it through some of the twigs of the wreath. So beginning where the 2 ends meet, you need to tuck one end of a pine stem through some of the twigs of your wreath, and then just twist it around another one like that. And you need to do that 5 or 6 times throughout your wreath. So see, I have a nice twist right here in the grapevine wreath. I'm going to poke this pine stem underneath it and then twist it with another pine stem, and that will just hold it in place. Again, make sure that the pine garland is nice and round, so that all the other elements on it get placed in a nice round shape as well. There's another one. That looks good. It's nice and round, and those are secured enough that every other element that we do glue in place will hold it into its spot really nicely. The next thing we put on, we have 3 different kinds of needle of coniferous type branches. We have a pine branch, another plastic pine one there. These are white pine, and then we have some cedar here. We start with the bulkiest of all of those, and these are the pines. Now, the way that you place all of the elements from here on out on the wreath is you count how many of each element you have. I have 3 of these pine boughs. So I would divide my wreath into thirds, and a pine bough goes in each of the 3 sections. So I want to put one here, and one here, and one down here. The reason that this wreath is so easy to make is that there's no exact placement for anything. It's a very, very hard wreath to mess up because you just divide it into the number of elements you have, put one element in each space, and fill in blanks. Okay, so I have the 3 pine boughs right there. Now I have white pine, and I have 4 of those. So I'm going to divide my wreath into 4 and put a white pine bough now in each of those places. Now make sure that you are alternating inside, outside, front of the wreath, so that there's a lot of variation. It's what makes this wreath so beautiful, is the variation that you see throughout it. Also make sure that you are going in the same direction. All of your elements will point in the same direction as your pine garland. I'm going clockwise. You may have done it counterclockwise, and that part doesn't matter as long as everything now goes in the same direction. Now I'm going to do these 3 elements. You don't want to do too many elements at a time because you've got to glue them in and you don't want to forget any. But I feel like 11 is okay. So again, I have 3 of these cedar branches. So I'm going to divide the wreath into thirds and put 1 branch in each place. And I'm just going to look for a place that doesn't already have another kind of pine accent other than the garland. So I want one right in here. And right there. So now I have some kind of coniferous accent in just about every spot on the wreath, and I like that. Now the way you glue these in, the easiest way for me is you pull back whatever garland is in the way, retract each piece just a tiny bit, put a spot of glue down at the base where it enters the grapevine wreath, and then just push it back in place. That secures it really well, and you just need to make sure that it makes contact with the elements around it or with the grapevine wreath. And make sure that you don't miss any. So go carefully in a direction, don't skip around, do it methodically so that you don't miss any. You want to make sure that each of these elements is glued in well. Now this one is just in a big gap in the wreath, and so I'm going to move it into where it has lots of branches to make connection with so that the glue will hold it in place. Okay, that's all of them. So now rearrange this a bit, fluff it out a little bit more so that you really can see what you've got. And then the next thing we place on are the pine cones. They're big and bulky, and you want them to go beneath all of the other elements. I twist mine together for shipping, so untwist them if yours are twisted together. And we have 5 groups of pine cones. These pine cones are wired, and they're wired in a way that you can see these 2 separate wires coming out. They're not heavy wires. I don't like using heavy wires for these because I just end up poking my fingers. And so you'll wire these on. You won't glue them on. So place your pine cones. Again, I have 5, so I want to divide it into 5 pieces. Think of a star if that helps you divide it. And it doesn't have to be exact. That is the beautiful thing about this wreath is 5 might be hard to divide, but you don't have to be exact. Okay, I look at that and I think they're rather evenly spaced. Not perfect, but we don't want them to be perfectly spaced. We want them to just be rather even. So now, divide your little wires, find a piece of the wreath that you can slip the wire underneath, and then pull it out. Then with the other end of wire, just twist it around. I lost the other end of the wire. There it is. Twist it around several times so that it is nice and secure. And then clip off the excess wire and tuck the wire back down into the wreath so that it doesn't poke out. It's not hard enough to hurt you, but you still don't want it poking out. Sometimes it helps to curve the end of the wire like this because it'll help bring the wire back up out of the wreath for you. There we go. Okay, pine cones are placed. The next thing we have is a set of deciduous leaves. We have magnolia leaves. We have these feather type leaves. I think they're a sumac, I'm not sure. And a willow type, something airy, a fern or willow. We start with the heaviest and bulkiest ones. So the magnolia leaves, there are 5 of them, so again we're going to divide them into 5. So basically you want to follow kind of the same pattern that you did in the pine cones and just poke these around. Actually, I want to put a big one here and a small one in between these two. Okay, I like that. Now for these, you want to put some glue on the tip of the stem and insert it where you wanted it. I have a glue pot that I like to put glue in, and then I insert the stem into it. It makes it easy for one-hand work. Or you can cover the end of the branch with glue with your glue gun as well. Okay, so the next one are these feathery ones, and there's only 3 of these, so we're going to just divide the wreath into 3 sections and place them around. And then I also have 3 of these willow type ones. Okay, so now we have 6 leaves to glue in to place. You just want to keep track of them so you don't miss any when you're gluing. Pull the branches back that are around where it's supposed to go, and then insert it back into where it was. Again, try to be methodical about this so that you don't leave any unglued. It is inevitable with these to get this spider webby type glue strings. It's unfortunate, but it's the way it goes. Okay, now pick the strings off as you go, otherwise they can get buried underneath elements and then they look a little strange when the light hits them. Okay, now we have 3 different kinds of berry picks. I have an olive and a holly, and then these, I'm not actually sure what kind of plant they are, but we have many of those. They're going to be the last of the 3 that we put in. So we're going to put these 3 in first, and again I have 4 olive stems, so I'm going to divide it into 4, and just look for bare spots. Look for things that don't have other nice elements in them, and that's where you want to place things. Okay. And then I have 3 holly picks. So divide it into thirds. I want to put one back here. Okay, great. Now it's time to glue these in. So I have 4 olive and 3 holly, so I have 7 things to glue into place. The hardest part about this wreath for me is remembering what hasn't been glued yet. Clear off the spider webs. A glue pot generally creates a lot more spider webs than a glue gun. So to me it's the only downfall of a glue pot. Alright, the next thing we put on are all of these. You have, you need, or you have if you bought my kit, many of these. So you want to really cover your wreath with them. You want to have red accents everywhere you look almost. I have 2 left. I'm going to look for any holes. I don't see any red right in here. And I think right here. Okay. Now, gluing all of these in. Again, be methodical. So just pull them out. Get glue on the end. Stuff them back into place. Okay, if you tug on it and it comes out, then you need to put glue on it if you haven't already, and if it comes out, then it needs more glue even if you did it before. Pick away all the spider webs. Rearrange, refluff. You notice this one, these foam berries, they look really great, but sometimes they break off. And see how I have a white spot right here? I don't want that to show, so I'm actually going to use a little dab of glue, and I'm going to glue it down so that it doesn't show when it's finished. See, I just glued it to the stem so that it wouldn't show. Okay, we only have 3 elements left here. We have the cinnamon sticks, the walnuts, and the oranges. This is where the wreath really just comes together and gives you that finished, beautiful look. It's the stuff that makes me think of Wassail. You have 3 walnuts. Now these walnuts have been, they've actually been roasted, and the reason that I roast them is because if I don't, walnuts being natural live things, they could actually collect bugs. But I roast these so that they don't. So make sure you put these where their texture and their color are going to just pop. So 3 walnuts, we have 4 sets of cinnamon sticks. I like that. Okay. So pull them out one by one, get glue on their stem, and poke them back in. Now don't skimp on the glue on these because they're a heavy element, and gravity working against you could actually dislodge them from where you've got them in your wreath. You don't want that to happen, so use plenty of glue as you are placing these. Lots of spider web strings again. Pick them off. I suppose I shouldn't call them spider webs. They're glue strings. People might get creeped out if they thought they were actually spider web strings. All right, and the last part, which is my personal favorite, are these dried oranges. To dry orange slices takes about 6 hours in the oven and then about 2 weeks out of the oven. So I wanted natural oranges. You can buy foam ones, but that just seems weird to me. So we have 5 orange picks. Put these where they will really show. Some of them have, let's see, some of them have 2 in their group and some of them are just single. Alternate 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. And if they got weird in shipping, like these are just side by side, I like them tucked one behind the other. Just shift them so that they look pretty in the way that you like them. Okay, I like where those are. Now we glue these in. And that is the last element that we're going to put on our wreath. Hey, glue on my fingernails when I do this. And doesn't that look beautiful? That'll look so pretty on your door. I hope you enjoyed making it. This is probably my favorite wreath to make. I hope you enjoyed making this wreath with me. Remember to like the video and subscribe to my channel below. And for more creative surprises, visit my website and my Etsy shop at the addresses shown. See you next time.